everyone for gathering here today and being here to celebrate the signing of this law and the prevention of this happening for any other child. I want to start out by thanking Jamie and Kaylee Sawyer for their advocacy. They were faced with the most horrific thing that a parent could encounter, and they did not waver. They have represented their daughter extremely well. Their courage and their tenacity and their perseverance is so admirable. And I hope that we all could do the same thing if we were faced with the same task. But they have been completely honorable and amazing, and they bring longevity to their daughter's life. And I am so proud to know you and call you friends, and proud to be here today at this monumental moment in your journey. I also want to thank our District Attorney Hummel and our Police Chief Porter and Sheriff Nelson for advocating tirelessly, crossing the mountain through, I believe, an avalanche at one point to testify for this bill, and making sure to educate everybody on what we needed and what our community needed. Their jobs and their titles require that they react to crimes, but they don't require that they prevent them. And they went a step further in what I believe their job titles all required, by making sure that they prevent this from happening again to anyone else's children, and that we make sure that our community is safe. And so I want to thank them so much for their tireless efforts in moving forward and preventing things and taking things above and beyond what the call of duty is. And so I'm so proud to have them lead our community and be a part of the same community that they are. So thank you very much for that. I also want to thank the governor for coming over here instead of me having to go over there to see her. It is a much better commute for all of us, so thank you. But notice that she did it in the summer. So, but welcome to Bend, and thank you for signing this law and being here and being a partner in helping with our student safety. I appreciate that very much. I also want to thank the Attorney General for being here as well, and Aaron Knott for his hard work and perseverance through making sure this law made it to the final signing. And so thank you very much for that. I also want to thank Tim Knope for his leadership, and all of my fellow legislators for voting yes on this. In times where we're very polarized, this was not polarized whatsoever. This was a slam dunk and a real illustration of bipartisanship and putting everything above partisan labels and votes, and making sure that we all do the right things for our students and our safety. And I also want to wish Jaden, Kaylee Sawyer's brother, a happy 16th birthday today. So for all of you that are around that get to wish him a happy birthday, please do so. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Senator Knope.
Good afternoon. I'm State Senator Tim Knope, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. And I too want to welcome the governor and the attorney general to Bend. It's not very often that they both are here at the same time. So thank you for coming. I do want to just talk about really why we're here. This is really about a celebration of Kaylee Sawyer's life through this bill, and even in her death. As her brother said to me just moments ago, she is continuing to help people. And that's what Kaylee was. She was somebody who wanted to help people. She wanted to make a difference in this world, and she is making a difference in this world. And this bill will continue to help students and keep students safe for decades to come. And so when the governor signs this bill, that is really about the celebration of Kaylee's life and this day. And then I also want to thank all those who participated in this bill, and somebody who hasn't been mentioned yet, who I think was really two key figures in this, is Senator Przansky, who's the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and then Representative Williamson on the House side. Both had lots of input into this bill, and as Representative Helt said, this was a very bipartisan bill and very extraordinary when you have a unanimous vote, and that's a testament to who Kaylee was, to her family support, and to the community support that's here today. It's obvious that Kaylee was loved, and there are so many people that want to honor her effort, and so thank you all for being here today. And law enforcement and our DA's office were just incredible as it relates to their support of this bill, and we could not have done it in the fashion that we did without them. And so even though sometimes it seems like things are easy in Salem, they never are, but this one had everybody working toward a common goal, and so that's something I think we should celebrate today. So thank you so much for your participation and for being here today.
Thank you, Senator. Governor Brown, Attorney General Rosenblum, Representative Helt, Commissioners Adair and Henderson, Chief Porter and your officers, Sheriff Nelson and your deputies, Chief Tarbett and your officers, OSP Detective Sergeant Robles and all your troopers who are here today, members of the Sawyer and Van Cleve families, members of my team in the DA's office who showed up in a big way, and friends. Welcome to the Deschutes County District Attorney's Office. July 24th, 2016 was the darkest day in Deschutes County's history. It was the day Kaylee Sawyer was taken from us. In our current time of name calling on social media, heated rhetoric in politics, and general loss of decorum in social interactions, Kaylee was a breath of fresh air. Kaylee saw the good in people. She brought us together. She was relatively young. She was far too young, but she was a leader in our community. Now, isn't it just perfect that in perhaps the most contentious legislative session in Oregon's history, it was a law named after Kaylee that united us? But it didn't happen overnight. Jamie Sawyer dedicated 3 years of his life to ensuring that what happened to Kaylee never happened to another person nor another family. It was his drive that made Kaylee's Law a reality. Attorney General Rosenblum and your team, you skillfully piloted this bill through the process and did a wonderful job. Senator Knopp and Representative Helt, you were legislative leaders. Your voice was strong, and everyone knew where our delegation stood. And our community, thank you. We stood as one for Kaylee. We said loud enough for everyone over in Salem to hear, Kaylee's death will not be in vain. Thank you to everyone who fought for Kaylee throughout this process. And thank you for coming today. And I'll now have the honor of introducing Attorney General Rosenblum.
Thank you, DA Hummel. Thank you, Senator, Representative, Governor, all friends and family. Every time I come to Bend, I think of Kaylee, and I always will, every single time. As I prepared for today's event, I found myself reflecting on how different of a feeling this has for me than the other bill signings I have attended. While today's signing of Kaylee's Law signals a tremendously impactful step in making our campuses safer, and I'm deeply proud of our shared work in the passage of this legislation, I cannot help but reflect that none of this should have been necessary. The tragic circumstances which resulted in the death of Kaylee Sawyer may not have been predictable in their exact circumstances, but they were preventable nonetheless. And so, despite the incredible accomplishment represented by this legislation and the steadfast efforts of Kaylee's family and loved ones in working to protect our students from harm, I greet the passage of Kaylee's law with no rejoicing, only our strong and deeply shared resolution that this can never be permitted to happen again. The signing of a bill is always the final step in a much longer journey, but rarely more so than in this case. When my office became involved in the formation of the work group that would ultimately draft Kaylee's law, we were already standing on the shoulders of the crucially important work done by District Attorney John Hummel, by Ben Chief of Police Jim Porter, and others to bring justice in fully and faithfully prosecuting this case, and none more than Jamie and Crystal Sawyer, who, despite never having worked with the legislative process, were able to navigate a sometimes contentious work group process and see the bill through both chambers unanimously. The courage of Kaylee's loved ones and their willingness to share a terribly difficult story is the engine that made this important change possible. So I praise you for your bravery, your tenacity, and your incredible devotion to Kaylee, you and all the family. And it is in her name that we gather here today. Kaylee's law will draw a clear and necessary line between campus safety and law enforcement by requiring them to remove the red and blue light bars, the specialized bumpers, and most of all the internal plexiglass cages that prevented Kaylee from escaping that night. It'll make for smarter hiring, better background checks, and an overall more secured environment on our college campuses. So thank you to Senators Tim Knopp, Floyd Przanski, Representatives Sherry Help, and Jeff Barker, Governor Kate Brown, and the many members of our legislative work group. And I also want to take a moment and recognize the hard work and the endless kindness of Judiciary Counsel Chana Newell. And though I generally would not pat my own staff on the back too much in public, there was a quiet powerhouse, maybe not so quiet, behind this law in my legislative director, Aaron Knott. I remember when he first came over here about a year ago to meet with the family. And when he came back, he could barely talk. He could barely describe what he had experienced. And Aaron does not cry normally, at least in my experience. All of us who were touched by Kaylee's story and the profound loss of her passing are here together today, and as well as the whole community who's not here but who's with us in spirit. And while nothing we do today can bring Kaylee Sawyer back, I hope we can honor her memory together today with the passage of this bill in her name. And now, it's my honor to introduce our Governor, Kate Brown.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here today. And thank you to District Attorney Hummel and his team for hosting us here. I'm extremely honored to be here with you today to sign Kaylee's law. While this legislation focuses on specific scenarios, at its heart, its focus is about making our campuses safer for our students. Parents send their children off to college with high hopes for good grades, great friends, and broaden horizons, but they never expect to lose a child. Kaylee Sawyer's death was a tragedy, and we want to make sure that this never happens to a promising Oregonian again. There's many things I love about Oregon, but what I love about Oregon is our citizen. One of the things I do love is our citizen legislative process. And this bill is an example of when Oregon is at its best. People coming together to solve problems. I want to close today with a thank you to Kaylee Sawyer's family. They worked tirelessly to bring meaningful change to their community after a horrible tragedy befell their family. Always hoping throughout the hard work that no family would ever have to go through this same ordeal again. That takes enormous strength and perseverance, courage, and tenacity. We've heard about Kaylee today, about what a great friend she was, about how she cared about others, and how she could light up a room with her smile and her positivity. So I want to close today in Kaylee's spirit and focus on the positives this legislation brings. More transparency, better safety, and a way to forever remember Kaylee Sawyer. So let's go ahead and sign the legislation. Would the family please come on up? And I'd like to invite our legislators, our elected officials, our law enforcement, Madam Attorney General, come on up and join us for the bill signing, please. Okay. Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I'm going to take the fall for this one. We were going to have the family speak before the bill signing. That's my mistake. So, Jamie, on behalf of the family, would you like to say some words?
Sure.
Yeah, come on up.
Sorry. My fault. Go from the podium, Jamie. Come on. I think that's wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Good afternoon. Today is a bittersweet day, to say the least. Never could I or would I have wanted to imagine walking through the last few years as we have, learning to live a new normal in the wake of our daughter's horrendous murder, and being given the opportunity to change history because of that murder. Being able to do something truly noble, righteous, and monumental in honor of Kaylee to help others has helped soften some of our pain and loss. However, the toll it has taken mentally and physically is tremendous. The new friends and relationships created through this process over the last few years are incredibly important to Crystal and I. This is one of the reasons I'm up here today. Crystal and I feel we have not had the proper opportunity to acknowledge our gratefulness for those that have encouraged, supported, and walked with us through these tumultuous times. Some of these people I speak of have also had great loss in their lives and made sacrifices and commitment to change criminal law and victims' rights long before Kaylee's murder. The actions of these individuals and many others in history directly affected the outcome of our daughter's murder case and the invaluable rights and advocacy we were given, rights and laws not in place years ago. These current rights and laws kept us involved with the prosecutors, ending any sentence that keeps us from having to be re-traumatized through the appeals process. If it was not for victims' rights and the advocacy program, our support in mental health would have been drastically minimalized, and Kaylee's Law would have never been a conversation. Steve Dole, president of Crime Victims United, and Lou Cox, founder of Violent Crime Victim Services, are a couple of those people I described. They can directly relate to my pain and have helped so many before us. They were paramount in helping us develop our speeches, statements, and educating us while walking through this process. Kaylee's Law would have never originated if not for a victim advocate and someone I'm proud to call a friend, Ashley Beatty. Ashley is someone that works far outside her job description and is a force to be reckoned with. Kaylee would have adored you. Ashley made the comment there was someone that she knew in Salem that could help us into the legislative process for developing a bill. Little did we know that that contact would be one of the most respectful, intelligent, and humbly powerful people I know, Aaron Knott, Legislative Director for the Attorney General. Crystal and I may have needed to lead the train, but Aaron was the developer and the driving force behind the success of this bill. The passion and commitment to make this bill a success by Senator Floyd Przansky, Senator Tim Knopp, Chief Jim Porter, Legal Counsel Chana Newell, District Attorney John Hummel, Assistant District Attorney Steve Gunnels, Representative Sherry Helt, Representative Jeff Barker, Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum, along with all the members of the House and the Senate, have been incredibly inspiring. Putting aside politics and personal agendas resulting in 2 unanimous votes is truly unprecedented. Unprecedented has become the word describing the journey through the legislative process and passage of Kaylee's Law. More unprecedented events occurred than I have time to describe. I still stand in awe, not fully comprehending the depth of what has happened. To all those that I have named, and probably some that I forgot, you are giants in our world, and we are eternally grateful and in your debt. Thank you for helping us carry this torch, and for those that have carried the torch before us. Thank you, Governor Brown, for traveling to Bend and helping bring this monumental achievement to a close. I pray that Crystal and I have and continue to represent Kaylee well. I know she would be so proud of us as we are of her. Our warrior princess, as a friend described her. Lord, I praise you and am grateful for your presence in our lives, for grace, peace, strength I didn't know I had, for wisdom and confident hope to be with my girl again beyond this life. Father, help us continue to run this race well, and I ask for your blessing over this crowd gathered today in Jesus' great name. Amen. Thank you all for coming.
Ready to sign the legislation?
Let's do it. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming. You can stay and mingle as long as you would like. When we're done with the governor visiting with the family of the governor, we'll take questions from the media. So if you want to stick around for that. Thank you for coming, everyone.